Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From Childhood to Champion. The star is, of course, Tesse Akpeki. Tessie and I typically host Tessie Talks, but this has been a special series that we have been doing in which she is the star, and I just go along, not go along, but I support her in it. So this particular episode is part 3 of the series From Childhood to Champion. And in it, she'll be talking about her life from ages 22 to 30. Listen in, and better still, view it.
Thank you, Paula, for your kind introduction. And we're on this journey, childhood to champion. It's really interesting that when you start telling your story, there are things you begin to remember after you have spoken that actually you'd forgotten. And that is what happened with me. We finished talking about my life up to 21, and I began to remember that because I went to university when I was 16, very, very young, and the pressures of academia. And then I became a lawyer in Nigeria by the age of 21. It was a lot of pressure. And during those years, I wanted to be so much in control of my life, and I developed a lot of anxiety, so high level anxiety. And that manifested through eating disorders. So I didn't eat very well. I didn't deliberately want to not take care of myself, but because I wanted to do so well, and at the same time, I wanted to impress my parents, I just didn't. My relationship with food wasn't all that good, so I became anorexic, and that led to a lot of other things like growing weak and being taken to hospital, and just not particularly towards exams. So some of my exams, I came out of hospital to do exams, etc. And that surfaced for me, and that very poor relationship with food continued until I was about 27, 28. So it's continued for quite a long time. So I pick up from where we did stop in relation to the age piece. At 21, I became a lawyer. I went to do my youth corps. That was 22. And my youth corps is similar to Peace Corps in the States. And I did that for a year, and I was very lucky to be able to do a tutorial kind of work in the University of Ibadan, and it was in the law of tort. Which is kind of civil side of law. And I did that, and I really enjoyed my students, and I think my students enjoyed me, at least they told me they did. And then I went back to Lagos when I was 22, and I decided to do a master's in University of Lagos. And I was so happy to do, my master's. I majored in jurisprudence, that's social jurisprudence, which is the philosophy of law. I majored in international law, and I also did conflict of laws. So it was just the whole legal piece, which I totally and utterly loved and enjoyed. So I did have one good year of really good learning. And then I went into the world of work. And luckily for me, I was able to get work with a really good lawyer called Gani Fawemi, who was the leading lawyer in human rights in Nigeria. So I worked with him, and from there I went on and I became chief counsel and company secretary of an accountancy firm in Lagos. And this period lasted almost for 5 years, actually. So it was 5 years of work in the corporate legal side, in the accountancy firm, and with Gani Fawemi. When I was 28, I decided, no, 26 actually, I decided to move from Nigeria to England, which was the country where I was born. And I thought I was only going to be in United Kingdom for 3 years. And I told my employer that. And I came to the United Kingdom, and I'm still here. So many, many years on, I'm still here. I did only go back to Nigeria for holidays and things, but that wasn't the plan. So I came here, and I think one of the things that actually led to me probably being here today still is that I wasn't able to find a good job. I mean, from having a master's, having worked as a corporate lawyer, having been company secretary to corporate firm, working with a leading human rights lawyer, you would have thought that I could have had my qualifications recognized. They were not recognized, which was a blow. So I had to start doing very manual jobs, kitchen work, shop floor work with retail, and being a junior civil servant, which I was. And I also went to night school to retrain. So I was really retraining during that period. And I retrained first, believe it or not, as a secretary. So I learned secretarial skills, which were proper secretarial typing skills. I did the exams, and everybody who knew me then got a letter badly typed until I got enough practice in typing, and I actually passed my typing exams. And then I went on, and from civil service, I was able to get qualifications in company secretarial practice. So that's where the ICSA, the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, came in, which is now CGI, the Chartered Governance Institute, that I sat those exams, and I was really determined. And in 18 months, I qualified. Usually it's 4 years, but I qualified, and I qualified with honors, distinction. And so, yeah, I got a lot of awards and scholarship, not, kind of grants and accreditations and things, because I did so well. And I was very happy at that. And having done well, it opened other doors. So I applied to the Chartered Governance Institute, then ICSA, to do a managerial executive job, and I'm happy to say that I did get it. So I became an executive officer of sorts, supporting members of the institute through the different committees, and I totally loved it. I loved the people who I was working with, and I began, for the first time in many years, I began to enjoy what I was doing. So I worked with the institute for about 2 years, and then I moved on to charities. It was my first time of working in the charity field as a worker. I used to be in partnership doing training and other things with charities or attending charity events, but for the first time I became a development worker. And the first job I got in charities was with the National Council of Voluntary Organizations. And I thought I was going to stay with the NCVO, National Council of Voluntary Organizations, for 3 years. I ended up staying there for 13 years. And I stayed there for 13 years. I became a development worker, as I said. I worked on the field, and then I was in that job for about 5 years. And then I became an interim manager in NCBO, and I applied for a a more senior job, and I became the head of the trustee and governance unit. And I was in the role of heading the governance work at NCVO for an additional 9 years. And during that time, I learned a lot about charities. I learned a lot about governance. I learned a lot about management, and I learned a lot about partnering with other organizations. So to close this part of it, I think things that stand out in terms of the work itself is that during that time, I also became a non-executive director of a health trust, and then two health trusts in that period. And I became a commissioner for Equal Opportunities Commission. So it was a really intensive time of moving from having a very junior role to having more senior roles. So I'll end this piece on that note, the NTBO and my executive roles and what I learned in that time.
The reason I took a while to come back was because I was so intrigued by everything that you said. And it gives us, me, her co-host, and those listening, those of you listening, a better insight into who Tessie is. from, as she said, from the age of, from leaving Nigeria with all those qualifications and having to start at the bottom to get to where she is today, a champion, is truly the journey of from childhood to champion. It's a journey of resilience, it's a journey of perseverance, and it's a journey of knowing who you are inside and saying, nothing can stop me, not ever giving up. So Tessie, there's not much to say. Other than I'm in awe of you. I want to say I take off my hat, but I don't have a hat on. I sure would.
Yeah,
But
I am so in awe of you, Paul, and what you've done. But as we tell this story together, because you've witnessed quite a number of these years, you can see that these ups and downs actually contributed to who I am now. And I would not have wanted to change it. Yes, it was difficult, but for all of us, the ups and the downs are what makes us who we are, and we can celebrate those different pieces.
and that's why you're able to do part 3 of this series, in which the authenticity and and everything the journey that you have gone through from 22 to 30 is able to come across with such authenticity and no, seeing where you are now really, 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 really is one that encourages others to continue to listen to where next, and what next you have done to get to where you are. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you.